evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Puggle IT Tech Discovery Series. So last week, we explored front-end development. Today, we will be exploring back-end development, the technology that powers everything behind the scenes. So my name is Daniel Samuel, and part of the team at Puggle IT, the founder of Puggle IT, and today what we want to do is, in this series, we are designing it specifically to expose young people and beginners to opportunity in technology. So you don't need prior experience. If you follow our last series, you will understand our goal is meant to show you different career paths and help you discover where your passion lies. So I would like to ask, who attended last week front-end session? Did all of us here attended last week front-end session?
I did.
Perfect. Okay. So this week, we will continue from there. Last week, we learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In fact, we went as far as building things users can see. But today, I want to ask this question. If front-end is what users see, so you now start asking, what actually makes Facebook locks you in? For example, you log into your Facebook, you log into your social media. How does that happen? How do you log in? What is responsible for that? What stores your WhatsApp messages? Even when you log into another device, you can even get back your old chats. What processes payment on Jumia? All these questions, let's say if you make order, for those of us that are used to ordering things online. Now, that's back-end development. All of those questions, if you are asking, okay, how, if you are curious, you want to know, that is back-end. So let me, sorry, I wasn't. Yep. Now, sorry, without much waste of time, let's proceed. Okay. Yep. So if we have answered that question and say, what is the part that users don't see? So think of it like, I think I'm in this slide. Okay. So that is a little bit overview of our back end. Now, if you want to ask this question, if back end is what is the part users don't see, think of it as the brain of the application, right? Every login, every payment, every message, every account creation happens because back-end system is working behind the scene. So let me just focus on this back-end a little bit. If you can recall from our last session, we actually looked at these technologies which are for the front-end development, right? So when we looked at these technologies, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Isaac went as far as building a simple landing page and showed us how we decorate the front end we build with this technology, how you learn extensively. You master this technology, you can build anything that has to do with the front end of the web app. Now, we haven't looked at this. We had those questions which are with regards to the back end, like handling of authentication, business logic, database, APIs. All of these are considered as back end. Think of it like in a kitchen, for example, right? who actually prepares the food? Let's say, for example, you go to a restaurant. In a simple scenario, if you go to a restaurant, you make an order to the waiter, right? So when you make order to the waiter, then who actually prepares the food? If you go to a well-known restaurant, do you usually see the cooks or people who are preparing the food? Exactly. So who prepares the food are those that actually does this in the back end. The waiter is like the front end, where you see they'll dress, come with their apron. Hey sir, can we take your order? You now give the order. The kitchen is like the back end. You don't know what they prepare, you just know that food will come. The store is containing all the ingredients, like the inventory for preparation. They don't have to till you come before they start going to buy some of the ingredients that they'll prepare the meal for you. So all of this is how the website also work. When you make a request, you say, okay, I want to log in. They give you a form. Okay, provide your login, these credentials you sent. It goes to the back end, authenticate you, bring back your information. Oh, this is your account, your pictures, what you have been posting, and then it brings it back to you. This is you being served what you sent to the back end. Is that okay? Do you understand all of that?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So having looked at this story, we'll now try to now make it very simple. You use WhatsApp, we use Facebook. You have ordered something online. For example, every message you sent, every status update, every order, every payment, these are actually handled by what? By backend. In the case of your WhatsApp, even your Facebook, and all of this product. So if you have this clear picture, the question now is, back-end developers in this context use different programming language. JavaScript, we saw that also we can use JavaScript for frontend, but there is a special technology or framework which, if you dive deeper, you learn, but you need to understand the language first. It's just like when you start speaking English, you started with the basic, you needed to learn the alphabet, then you needed to learn how to form words, then from that words you started forming sentence, from that sentence you started writing poem, and all of that is the same thing. People now decided to create like a framework that helps build the back end, and that's what we call Node.js. Node.js is what we use for mostly back end development. There is also a framework that you can use using this language. If you use Python, PHP, all these are programming languages for backend, but they have frameworks and technology specifically that you can use, and it has like pattern that allows you to just customize and build this backend. And also the database where you store some important information. We have different databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, MongoDB. All of these databases are like where the information are stored. Of course, if you dive deeper, you begin to understand how these work under the hood. So the language is the most important thing. Understanding how system work is what matters. So now, having looked at that, you now start asking, okay, what are the career opportunities that are often possible with back-end development? Now, back-end developers works in all of these industries listed, like the banks, hospital, government, startup, telecommunications. You see, these are all areas that a back-end developer can work. In fact, it's so broad, it's so massive. Many back-end developers work remotely for companies around the world. I've personally worked with teams across different countries through software development in backend as a backend developer. Their database are in the cloud. How they manage this data, you just need access to, like, your login, you access the office space and be able to work and be able to work and be able to manage this data when the data are going developing problem, you are able to put them in order as a backend developer. So when you begin to see the massive opportunity, take for example now in our country, let me use Nigeria for example. Many of the information that we have has not been digitized in a way whereby everybody information can be tracked. We know who is who as citizens. All of this, we don't have them because we have not really migrated to fully digital infrastructure across different parastatals. Like if you go to the hospital, for example, the people who are like the receptionists, or what do they call them, they will first of all take your file, they will go to one drive, like a shelf, begin to say, oh, what's your name, you are which patient, what's your patient number, all of this. Then they go to the shelf, bring your file, begin to check your medical history. You see, all of this is manual process. We can see, you cannot even begin to imagine the number of manual processes we have across different institutions in our country. And this is the reality of many African countries. So you see, if we must envision the future whereby everything is easily accessible, then we have to be thinking as the engineers who will ensure what the accuracy of this data and the serving of this data. Why? Because there are a limited number of people who are responsible for all of this. And if you look at the ones who decide to learn, mostly you see the European countries and other countries who understands the importance of managing will definitely take you for your skills to come and manage some of their infrastructure, some of their data, and it's easy to spot people who have these skills. So that is a little bit about back-end development and how it operates under the hood. If you ever don't think too much of it, don't think, okay, how will I do it? No, just understand this concept. The waiter concept, where you go to a restaurant, I believe most of us order food. In fact, even in your home, sometimes if your mom cook, you don't know how she prepared the food in the kitchen. Your own is just the front end. They serve you the food in the plate. You just eat. Sometimes you can be the waiter. You go to the kitchen, you dish the food. It's just to dish the food and come and sit down and eat. Sometimes you are served. All of this, you don't know how they prepare the food, how they did the water. All of these things is abstracted from you. This is mostly handled by the backend engineers. So there is high demand for back-end developers across the world. And if you look at the future of our country, you begin to prepare yourself with these skills. Because if we must embrace that digital transformation, this is the way forward. So without much waste of time, I will hand over to Isaac. Isaac, maybe you can show us a live practical demonstration of how the back end work. Enough theory for today's session. So technology is best learned by doing. So rather than just talking about back-end development, we want you to see it in action to help us understand today's practical demonstration. So I would like to introduce Isaac. Are you there? You can take over, and thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dan, thank you very much for that wonderful explanation. Honestly, you did a better job, and we are really glad and happy to be here. So without much wasting time, let me share my screen so I can walk us through a simple practical examples on how the back end works. So hope my screen is visible. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
I just created a new folder. I hope you all can see the front end demo we did last time. This was what we created. So let me see if I can refresh our memory a bit so we can understand. I think for those that were around in our last session, this was what we did. We created the nav icons, the home, about, event, contact. Then we did little heading, which we use our H1 tag. And then we wrote some just simple essay. And then we now created different cards for different tech stacks, the front end, the UI, UX, the data analytics, and then we have the backend. Then to test our JavaScript in action the last time, I think we just created a button, simple button where you can just create, once you click on the register now, it alert a message. So we did all that with people that were available in our last session. So what we want to do today is just to see the backend in action. So all this you are seeing, this is just front end in action. So we want to see back end in action. So I'll now go back and then open this back end folder. It's a new folder I created. So I just did the back end demo, nothing is inside. So we're going to open it. We're also going to make use of our VS Code. So basically, I make use of VS Code for most of my coding. So I don't know, maybe when you learn better, you can decide to use a different application to like run your front end and then your back end code. So what we'll now be doing is, what we want to do first when you are creating a back end application. So the first thing, unlike the front end where we had to use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, so there are a series of modules or applications we need to like install first before we can carry on. So the first thing I want to do now that we're here is to open my terminal. Control and backtick will open my terminal for me. So if you don't understand what the terminal means, this is actually what the terminal means. For those of us who are conversant with our command prompt, when you're operating your computer, so this is almost like the command prompt where you can just use commands. So just like the whole laptop or computer is, we know there's a graphical user interface, which is the GUI, and then we have the command interface. So with this command, I can use this command to open a folder, create new applications without actually using the icon that you have to go and double click and do all that. So, but then when you have better understanding, you see, you will know how to do all that. So, but then what we want to do first is we've opened our new folder. So for you to start writing your back-end code, there's a first command that you need to do first. The first command we're supposed to do is what we'll be using for our backend. We're using the Node, and then we're using JavaScript. So we're using Node.js and JavaScript and Express.js for this backend. So I'm going to use the command npm. So I've installed Node module. I've installed Node already on this system. So I'm going to make use of it. For when you want to start writing your backend application, you need to install all these applications on your system for you to be able to write the back-end code with. So the first command is npm init, then you put -y. What this command does is, I don't know, because of network, this might take us some time. So, but what it does is it installs what we call package.json in our file. What this package.json does is, let's think of package.json as the ID card for this application. So it does information concerning the whole backend application we want to be writing. So, but then let me see if the network has allowed us to install it. Okay, fine. It's actually even faster. I thought the network would delay us. So this is it. That command, npm, which is not package module, init-i, initialize by installing a package.json for us in our folder. So if I go back to this folder, you can see now we have one file. This is also one file with the .json asterisk. So we have one file, which is package.json. This whole information that it carries, that's why I said you should see package.json as the ID card of this application. It stores different information for this our application. It stores different information for this our application. Okay, so the next thing we want to be doing is, let me close this. So the next thing we'll be doing is to install the Express.js. I told you we'll be making use of our Express.js, JavaScript, and then the Node. So what we've been using so far is the Node. And then to install the Express.js, the command is also npm install. You can actually just type npm I, then you put the Express, but you can decide to write the I in full and put install. So we're going to write npm install, then you type the Express. Then you hit enter, and then you wait for it to install to tell you if the installation was successful or if it wasn't successful. So let's give it some minutes to see. This is actually what might use our network. Okay, so fine. Thank God. Everything was successful. So you can see initially when I opened this our package.json, if you check very well, there was no Express. Now that we've installed Express to our own application or project that we're doing, you can see now the Express that was installed, this is the version 5.2.1. So that was why I said, look at this package.json as the ID card of this application. Everything you install in this application, it's going to be reflecting here. So you can be seeing it live so that you know what you are installing and then the version of whatever it is that you are installing. So the next thing that we need to do first is to create our server. After we've installed this Express, it becomes very easy for us to create our server. So let's create the server. We will name it server.js. This is our server. So we're going to make use of this server so that the front end can have access to whatever it is that we're writing in this back end. So first, after we've created this server, the first thing we're going to do is to now bring the Express that we installed. We want to bring it into this our application that we are working with. We want to bring the Express into this application, and this is how we're going to do it. Last time when I was explaining how you can maybe save different information in a variable, I made use of this const net keyword. So this we're going to use also. We're going to write const, then we're going to write express is equal to, this is the keyword we're going to use. This is the keyword we're going to use. Require, then we put it, you open bracket, and then you put the express inside. When you do that, so you've actually imported the Express into our backend application. We've successfully imported the Express into our backend application. So after we've actually imported the Express into our backend application, next thing we want to do is to also create our own application. So you will see this Express as like maybe when you're using a computer, you install Microsoft Office. So let's look at this Express.js as our Microsoft Office. When you open Microsoft Office and then you want to write a Word document, and then you open it, when you open the Word document, you have to open a new file. So this new file that we're opening is our application. So this is what we're going to do. Const app will now be equals to, then we will now write this Express. What we are now telling this our application is we have opened a new application that we want to use now and write whatever it is that we want to write. So the next thing we want to make sure that this our server is running so that anybody can have access to the port that this server is running. So because we've started the new application here, what we want to use now is we'll now just use this app. There are different methods you can use to have access to a route. There's the get method, there's the put method. There are so many methods. So, but what we'll be using now, we just want to listen if our server is running. So I'll just say app.listen. Then I'll open this bracket. So we're going to use port 3000. Let's say that is the port our app is going to be listening on. So we'll now write an arrow function. We'll write an arrow function. And then we'll tell this app, this is what it should display. So what we are displaying here, we want to display it here on the console in this place where you are seeing where I'm typing all this command. I want to display server is running on port 3000. Immediately I run this application. And then how am I going to run this application? It's very simple. By writing node and then we'll write the name of our server. which is server.js. So if I hit this, it's going to tell me if our application is actually listening or if it's not running. So you can see, I don't know if you all can see this message. Server is running on port 3000. So what this actually means is, this our server is not doing anything at the moment. We just made it to just be listening on port 3000. So if anybody should visit, let's say this is our local host from the front end now, if anybody should visit this port 3000, you'll see that nothing is happening here. The backend is not showing anything. Yes, you visited the front, this is the front end address, but nothing is displaying because our server is only listening, it's not doing anything. We've not tell it to do anything or maybe give any information to whoever visits this port. So let's go back and then try to add, maybe we'll create our first route so that we can now see if someone visits port 3000, what should it display for the person. So what we want to do is to create our first route. This is what we're going to do. So we're also going to use another get method. So we'll use the app.get. Then we'll now open bracket. When we put this /, this is what it means. We are now saying this /, it actually means the home page. So whoever visits adding any slash to another page, whoever visits this port 3000, we want you to display this for the person. So this is how you write it. We'll put our request, comma, the response we want to give to the person, and then we'll now write our arrow function. And then here, inside the, we'll now tell it what we want you to tell anybody that visits this homepage of port 3000. So we'll now say response. What do we now want the server to tell the person? Respond.send. Respond.send. This is what we want you to tell anybody that visits this. Let's say, welcome to, let's say, the backend, let's see, web development course, or should we say, no, not course. Welcome to, let me see, Puggle IT, backend web development series. I think this is better. So let me save this. Then I will stop our server. Then I'll run the server again. So hopefully you can see the server is running. So hopefully whenever anybody visits the port 3000, it should display this information that we've now told it to display. Welcome to Puggle IT Backend Web Development Series. So let's go back and then check. Can you all see it? We've told our server, anybody in the front end that is trying to access this page, this is what you should display for the person. Welcome to Puggle IT Backend Web Development Series. Now we've created our first route, which is like the homepage. So this is basically almost the same thing when you visit www.facebook.com. Facebook have programmed their backend. When you visit that address, this is the first page it should display to you. You should see this homepage. You should see this homepage. Then when you click on your name, you can see this. You've added slash now here on the address bar. You can see slash, then the page where you are going to. So that's just basically the same thing we're doing. So we've created our first route. So congratulations, we've officially created our first route in this backend series. So the next thing we want to be doing now is let's try to see if we can create an API endpoint, just like how Danny explained when he was telling us some of the things we need to understand about the back end. So we've created our first route, which is this. So we want to create another API endpoint. sorry, we want to create another API endpoint so that aside the home page, which is the /, we want when user visit a particular link also, we want to display a different message or different information for that visitor. So let's also add, we will now do app.get method. The page we want to add, let's call it student. Let's call it student page. Let's do it like that, student page. Then we'll put the comma. Then we'll now put our arrow function. Let's not forget we have to put our request, comma, our response. Then we'll now finish our arrow function. So inside this code block is what we want to tell the backend to show whoever visits that page. So what we want to do now, we want to say the response dot JSON. So we want to use JSON format. JSON is actually a format where you use to display information on a web page that has to do with the name of maybe a variable and then the value. So there's actually a name and value to everything you are writing. So if we say, let's say maybe we say H, then we'll write the H. If we say name, then we'll write John. If we say this tech stack the person is learning, then we'll write either front end or back end. So that's just the method we want to use. So we want to do response dot JSON. This is the JSON. Then we'll now put it inside opening bracket. The information we want to display is actually in array. Since we are using multiple students, so we want to display the information in array. Array is a Java. There are arrays, there are objects, there are simple ones. We have the strings, we have the numbers, we have the Boolean, which is true or false. Like maybe when you want to say if a person is so and so, display this. If the person is not so, it has to be true that the person is maybe above 18 before you give him access to so page. That's for the Boolean, true or false. So, but then what we want to display here is an array of students with their age, with their name, and then different tech stacks that they are learning. So this is how you write an array. An array is usually like this. You can see an array is usually like this. So let me just press the tab key and then continue this. This is what it means. We can decide to add. So let me add a tech stack. So let me just add stack. And then let me see the stack for this. Let's see, this one is front end. Let's say front end. We can see this one. Let's see the stack for this. We can see back end. Okay. And then for this, let's say full stack. This is okay. So this is what we want to display. Anybody that visits this /student page, display this information for the person in JSON format. So I'm going to stop our application also because I've made some changes to our server.js file. Then I'm going to run the application also and then make sure I see that it's running. After that, I will come back here and then where's our page? Then I'll try to refresh our page. You can see for the port 3000, this is it. So I've not added the /. Remember we said the page is students with an S, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So let's hit enter. You can all see. So if you visit the home page, which is localhost at port 3000, you should display welcome to our backend, Puggle IT backend session. But if you now add /student, this is the page you should display for any visitor that visits this link or this address. So you can see we have the name, John Doe, we have the age 20, we have the stack. These are all the different. So it is now left for the front end to style all this and display it for users. So I'm just showing you what backend does. Front end will make a request. I'm making a request for the student page. Please give me the list of students with their age and then the stack they are learning. Backend process that information. It checks the database and then provides the request to the front end. So what most of us don't know is we don't know what is happening under the hood. We just make requests. www.localhost for 3000/students, bam, enter, and then you see it display. You don't know what has transpired under the hood. The front end sends a request to the backend. The backend processes it, checks the database, and then provides all this information. So we're going to create maybe a dummy of database, just like what Mr. Daniel said. Let's create a dummy of our database and then save this same information. Now we don't want the front end to have access to it directly. So we want to save it in a variable. We want to save it in a variable so that when you now make that request, the backend checks the database, just a dummy database we want to create. So let's go ahead and do const students. Let's say students is equal to const student is equal to, remember I said we're saving it in an array, and this is how you save an array. So let's do it like this, which is the same information. For this one, we can even decide, okay, so let's make it like this. So what we want to do now is whenever a user visits the /students, we want the response to be student. Just respond, give the response of this student. Let me just delete it all. This. So what I want you to respond is just like this. Give me response of this student. You can see this student is this variable that I've saved all these contacts, the names, the age of all these students is inside this student variable. So I'm now telling this backend route, please, whenever anybody visits this /students page, just display this student's information. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to stop our server. Then I'm going to run our server again. Then we'll now go back to the page again. And then we'll, in fact, let me open another page, and then we'll go to localhost for 3000. Remember, when we go to localhost for 3000, we're only going to see welcome to Puggle IT backend web, because we've created in our first route. So let's add /students here, and then let's hit enter. You can see. So what we are now doing here, we've created our database. This place, this is like our database. Any student that is not showing here, you cannot display it. We can also go ahead and say, you should search through this database. If the name is not John Doe, don't return this information. You can see it's going to return only information of this John Doe, but then that will be for another session. We are now going to do some practical aspects. So this is just basically back-end in action. We've created our server. After some installation, we met the server to run, and then we listen to whatever request we are going to get on port 3000, and then we made sure it's displaying for server is running on port 3000. We created our first route, which was the home page, and then we made it to display welcome to Puggle IT Backend Web Development Series, which that happens, the first magic we did. Secondly, we created another API route. The endpoint was /students, and then it should display all the informations of student. So let me show you another practical example briefly. This is just backend in action. I believe I didn't take much of your time. So, but then let me just show you another example. This is another application. So you can see this application is actually much like I've done a lot on this application. You can see in this application, it's an e-commerce website. You can see we have the admin folder, we have the back end folder, and we have the front end folder. So this is actually the front end folder. If I open the front end folder, you're going to see different folders. We have the about page, the cart page, the collection page, the contact page, the home page, the login. When you make order, these are different pages. I've arranged them like differently. So this application, I wrote this application using React, not HTML, JavaScript. These are another tools that you can use to write your front end. This one is React. I use it to write this front end. So let me start this front end, and then I'm going to show you what this front end, this e-commerce website looks like. npm run dev. So let me start the front end and then show you so that you can see what is happening. Am I on the front end or I'm on the back end? Sorry, let me see. Okay, this is the back end. Let me go to the front end. npm run dev. Let me run the front end and then just show you without actually running the back end. So let me open this page. You can see localhost. Let me show you the port this is running. This is actually running on port 5173, localhost port 5173. So let's go to the page and then you can see. This is what it looks like. You can see the home page. You can see why it's showing you this network error is because I've not started the back end. Most of the information as you see here, you can see there are no latest collections. There are no bestsellers. There are supposed to be different clothes like latest collection, bestsellers, but this is because the front end have made a get request for this home page, but nothing is displaying because I've not started the back end. So let me now go back and start this back end so that you will now see it. You can see the front end is running. Let me stop the front end from running. And then let me start the back end. npm run start. So let me start the back end. Pay attention. You'll see all the commands I've given it for it to display for me on the console. So let's just wait and see. Like what Mr. Daniel said, you can see this backend server is listening on port 4000. MongoDB, I'm sure you paid attention to when Mr. Daniel was explaining different database you can use. We have the MySQL, we have the MongoDB. So I use MongoDB for this application. So you can see it's telling me MongoDB connected successfully, and then the server is listening on port 4000. So because I've connected the front end to have access to this back end server on port 4000. So let's now start the front end, and then you will now see that most of those icons that we are not displaying, now it has access to the back end. It's going to fetch those information from back end, and then it's going to display it. So now you can see by itself, it will refresh the page, and then it will load those images that it was supposed to show for the home page that it didn't show because the back end was not running. So let me scroll down. Can you now see the images that are coming from the back end, the bestsellers? So without the back end, you can't log in and log out. But because we've put all this logic behind, so you can log in, you can create account, it gives you this, you sign up. If you have an account, you log in. So these are what you see on the front end, but the back end does most of the whole work under the hood. But what we just see, we just type whatever we want, and then the website display without actually knowing what is happening at the back end. The back end is responsible for actually cooking the meal that we see. The back end is more like the kitchen. You go to a restaurant and just place your order. I want rice. What you are seeing is rice, but you don't know. Without the back end, they wouldn't have been able to cook the rice. So that's just basically the simple practicals I wanted us to have an understanding on how the back end works. Mr. Daniel, you can carry on. Thank you very much for your time.
Wow. Isaac, thank you so much for that wonderful live practical session. Please, let's clap for Isaac. Isaac is doing an amazing job in this our live practical session. Please, let's give him a solid round of applause, or just show Isaac you appreciate this amazing simulation of what we have seen. Just thank you, Isaac, for that wonderful sessions, for that wonderful demo. So now that we have successfully built a simple API server, what it will do, receive requests, return data, and all of this, you can see it was live. You see it live. So we have this understanding that API application programming is usually like programming application interface. Take for example, like your socket now. If the electrician does the powering, get the power source and all of those things, your own is just to go to the front end, which is like the plug, and just plug. You don't even know how they do it. Your own, oh, let me just put. That's what you say. So you don't want to know what is happening. You just plug. So this is just what API is. You provide an interface where the back end connect with the front end and display. So the waiter in this case is more of like your API, because he's the one that take your request, connect you with the kitchen. Your request that you give him, hey, I want chicken, I want this. He connects you with the back end. Okay, this guy has placed order of chicken and this. Then he takes it and brings it back to you. This is the connection. Nice, nice. So, and we have this understanding, and Isaac did all of these things and show us the live demo, which I believe that we have this solid background of all of what he has demonstrated. Now you have the background. So we know that most people don't fail because, like we will say, it's not like you are not smart. In fact, programming is so sweet. In fact, they said if you don't want to struggle, if you are just a lazy person, go and learn programming. It helps you to do things easy, simple, without complication. We realize that most people fail because it's not like you are not smart whatsoever. No, no, no. Many people fail because they learn alone, which is a very serious problem. You watch hundreds of tutorials but never build projects. So you have no roadmap, no community. It's very daunting. You never know what you need to do, what you can do to sell yourself. These are the struggles that we have been able to build and solidify. We looked at this problem, we understand it, we have lived this reality. Most of us that you see us here, we had to create, because it's hard to see these things. You begin to think, okay, how can you create that community? In fact, because of now with this understanding, you begin to see that there are a lot of opportunities in our country and Africa continent as at large. Because you ask, okay, our hospitals, how many of them have even been digitalized? None. Like 80% of them are still manual processes. Schools, 80% manual processes. Hospitals, everywhere is just manual data. And all of these things, with a simple solution, with powers like this, you can begin to sell these solutions, provide these solutions. And we at Puggle IT, because we realize this challenge, we realize, okay, many people are just going to school, they are not even paying attention. What are you even going to school to learn? You finish school, you come back, you don't even have a skill in that domain that you claim. You see somebody, okay, you learn agriculture, ask him, how can you improve the agricultural delivery system now? It's a serious problem, because where will you even learn it? Even the local practical things, we know that the real owners of the farmland have taken over the farmlands. So the goal now is, how can you still bring the technology into processes, running and managing of these things, and improve all of these things? This is where tech is very powerful. And to be honest, let's not think like government will do this. You and I know in your state, in your local government, there is high demand for digital transformation. And it starts by learning these skills. When you begin to empower yourself with the actual skills, forget, some of us went to university, finish university, realize, okay, we need to learn again. So you need to unlearn some of the things. It's good that you have gone to university, it's not wrong, and you've picked up the ability to read and write, except you went, you didn't pass, you didn't do the basics. But I will believe the basics that you did, by knowing how to research, knowing how to do your project, is enough for you to be guided and mentored. Some of us started very late, but it works. And the goal is to ensure that the younger generation start early, provide structured mentorship, community support, career guidance, portfolio development, structured curriculum. So you'll be wondering, okay, how will you do? No, you need a portfolio. Many companies that will hire you will say, show us your portfolio. So we are Puggle IT, we created it to provide this structure, provide the project, provide mentorship. We provide a community where learners can grow together. And that is all that we have seen and we have been able to solve. And we believe as we continue to do this series, you continue to learn more and begin to plan your seed, begin to explore and begin to think of any other thing. So without much waste of time, thank you again once again for coming. We'll now go to next question and ask answers. You can ask anything. No question is too basic, okay? So please, you can unmute yourself and ask your questions. We'll be happy to provide you with answer.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Dan and Mr. Isaac. It was quite enlightening. My own is just for those of us, people like me, who were unable to meet up during the front end development. I don't know, please, is there a way we can get a recorded video of this, the front end, because we didn't get to be part of it? I don't know, sir.
Absolutely. You can go to our YouTube page, and if you are in the Discovery Series channel, I think we can still post it again there. But visit Puggle IT YouTube channel, you will have it there. Is that okay? It's live
Oh,
there.
okay, sir. And then
Thank you.
secondly, for Mr. Isaac, his presentation, they were very tiny. For somebody like me, I'm actually using phone. Okay,
Oh,
so for I don't know for other people, it was very tiny. I barely could see the information. So maybe I don't know. In case for next time, can the writings, the presentation be a little bit bolder? I don't know, sir. Thank you.
all right. Thank you for that observation. Duly noted. We'll try to see. That's why next time we'll try to zoom it a bit. But also it would be nice to use like a big gadget, right? Yeah, ideally a phone, preferably a laptop. But yeah, I think maybe we'll try to zoom it a bit, and maybe you try to go watch it and try zoom also, watch the recorded session. But yeah, thank you for notifying Isaac. I hope you take note of that against our next presentation. All right, thank you for the input. Any other question?
Okay, just I think few comments from my end. So thank you very much, Isaac. I think you're a very great teacher. You did a really wonderful job to break down the whole thing into a way that we actually understand. I think so far, I think this is the most interesting lecture I've had on this. I was so keen and interested in it. So when are we going to actually begin this lecture? Because this has actually sparked my interest.
Okay, yeah, is okay. In the series you can, so when are we going to begin? What do you mean?
Yes, like for me, I think I'm both interested in back end and front end. So I don't know when this will start in full. So far, I know I was able to go and watch the video on the YouTube page on the front end, and I'm able to join the back end class today. So I don't know when it's going to begin in full, because
Okay.
I just yeah, I think this is just basically an introduction class also.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so yeah.
So thank you for that question. So yeah, in the tech series, you are in the series channel.
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so actually we have already started. We started the first cohort. In fact, we are starting. More people are even registering right now. We are currently on. You just need to visit Puggle IT website and go to mentorship and apply. I think if you are okay with it, select the tech stack or the skill track you want to master, and front end, back end, and start from there. And once you are admitted, or we give like 90% scholarship for any interested person, and you can start. So yeah, you can just visit the mentorship page and see if you are okay. Is that fine?
All right. Thank you.
Perfect,
I'll check
perfect.
that out. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any other question? Please, let's ask questions. This series, like I said, we want to revolutionize our system, our institution. Like people at the age of 16, if we can ensure that they go to university at their own terms, because we know for sure that most of the things people learn, especially you see somebody go to university, say he learned computer science, and then he cannot even a programming language, he cannot defend that he has learned it. These are some of the things we want to really work at. Like we want to really push that if people will go to university, you should be empowered. You don't need to go through that hassle, that struggle, learning things that you cannot really boast of your skills. So with things, we have a structured curriculum. We are revolutionizing learning for the future, and we cannot do it alone. We have to rise for ourselves. We have seen that the government, the system, really is we that will build all of those things. It's more of like politics and all of that, but in terms of services, our education, we will not allow that to affect the future. So we need to raise intelligent people. It's not that hard. People need to consume content, and that's why we are doing this series. We'll keep doing this series, giving the introduction. People need to know this content, and then people need to start learning the actual tech skills that you need and empower yourself, so that there are a lot of remote jobs that are out there. But the question now is, can you even use the tools? If you get a job now, they will require you to use GitHub, if they are using cloud, GCP. All these things are tools that you use to manage the job. Now, if you have not really learned, you don't know how to use this tool, no theory will save you. So the whole processes of learning at Puggle IT is designed that you leverage. In fact, the portfolio, the project you use from every mentorship step is that you learn these tools, this technology, like the VS Code that Isaac was mentioning. You'll be like, okay, what is VS Code? Don't worry, you just need to have a laptop. That's all. In fact, you being able to join this session is okay with the way, and in subsequent session you learn how to even, by the time you learn the basics, then you know how to use AI to boost your development. All these things are things that we intend, and it's not bad. If you did 6 years learning in school and you are like, okay, I've graduated, what next? 6 months is enough for you to learn something that you can boast of. And this is where we feel with 6 months, no magic, it's total commitment. We ignite your passion. The rest is history. It's left for you to make the decision. Okay. So yeah, that's what we can say and what we are doing, and we hope that we keep invite friends, loved ones, try to get them acquainted with things like this. We'll keep doing this series until you see the limitless opportunity that are there for you. And to be honest, no, you might have done your master's, your PhD. If it's not working, you can relearn basic real tech skills. 6 months, 1 year at most. It depends with your pace. In fact, the joy of tech is time. Once you know how to commit your time and do the learning, you can feed yourself for that period. It's investment, which will definitely pay off. But you need to learn it. You need to know it. And you begin to see that there's limitless opportunity in there. So thank you again. So please ask your question. Feel free. This is where no judgment, no teacher that will not be able to answer your question. If we don't know, we simply say we don't know. That's how it is in tech. Okay, let's go and find out. We Google it. That's the power of tech. In fact, when I came to tech, I realized, in fact, not knowing things is even good. Not knowing things, I'm telling you, in tech was where you can fail so many times. In fact, they encourage failure. I was like, not the way we say, but failure in the way that you now say, okay, why did it fail? Failure is actually even an answer. I began to learn when you fail in something, is you now start investigating what caused the failure. This, then you say, this was the mind I began to build. That mindset is limitless, because in Nigeria it's like you can't fail. You can't. No, failing is part of life, and we must embrace it. And this is what tech has helped many of us to begin to see. Okay, we keep rising, we keep doing until we perfect it. You don't grow overnight. So please feel free, ask any question. Okay, no question is too basic. Any other question before we proceed?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Daniel.
Good evening.
Actually, this is a very nice session. In fact, I joined very
Okay.
late, but I was able to learn one or two things.
Good.
Currently, I pick interest in the tech of a thing, but this Python and all these things. I don't know. I don't have an idea about them. But with this enlightenment, I think I've been able to understand what this is all about. Currently, I'm
Thank you.
working on this Excel VBA coding, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Though I've been using AI. AI has been helpful to me, but
Mm-hmm.
there are some certain things that I don't understand. So I don't know if before going to this Python and all this and C++ and the rest, maybe
Mm-hmm.
as a beginner,
Mm-hmm.
this Excel VBA, is it a nice idea for me to start with, or I don't know.
Yeah, thank you for that wonderful question. So you see, the question is, uh, some people just learn English, for example, without going to proper school to learn A, B, C, D structure, and you can clearly see the difference between somebody who just ventured into English and somebody who went to school and studied English, right? Yeah. So if you really want to take it as a career, I think it is worth investing your time and learning the basic, the foundational. Then you can leverage these AI agents or whatsoever because you understand what it's doing. The mindset, you need to learn it. So I think you need to learn a specific language. You need to learn it like the foundation, know it, and that's all. Then
Okay,
this AI will become very powerful in your hands. Okay. Yeah. So you need to
okay,
go
but
to learn the mindset and all of that. Yep.
okay, then but I don't even know which of the programming language maybe I should start with because currently I'm focusing on this Excel VBA. I don't know which one I should start with, or should I continue with the VBA? Then later on I'll go to the next one.
So it depends on what you you want, right? It depends on what you are trying to achieve. Are you trying to just learn the VBA to just do things, or what are you trying to learn the VBA for? I believe you hope to contribute to a big project, get a job in tech. I don't know. It depends what you want to
Yes,
achieve. It
yes.
Yeah, so it depends. If the goal is to get a job, a real job, in fact, many of these companies, their technology was not built on VBA. They will be migrating to VBA, and they started. You go and read the code base. The code base, like that app store that Isaac show you for the demo. You can see he built it with JavaScript and all of this. So now, if you want to maintain something like that using the VBA, how will you know which part of the code? Let's say they say, hey, this thing is happening, this thing has crashed. Any company that will employ you, they won't want somebody who just have VBA. Like, what do you want to do with VBA? Why not they just put the VBA to do it for them? Do you understand?
Okay.
Yeah, so you
Yes.
need to, as an engineer, there will always be need for, in fact, don't think like there will always be need for software engineers. Even with all these here, I know there will be need for, in fact, Africa is so virgin in terms of we have not migrated entirely to this. We cannot just overnight start using AI. No, the data processing, some people have to fit in the data, create the data structure, create the framework, and this is where it's easier now for us as software engineer. Once we start using AI to build, you see how we are able to use this AI to just these things that I did, AI will do it in 1 minute. So you need to know it. If not, how can you ask it to do certain things that you want? And this is where the mindset is different. An architecture now who is using pencil and paper to draw now migrate to maybe Corel Draw or some of these tools that do, his knowledge of using that Corel Draw to achieve will be different from you who is just seeing the tool. You cannot do the same thing as him. He knows different. So that's why we emphasize learning a specific language. And from there, in fact, some of these languages are easy. If you learn one, it's easy to learn the other one. Like I know like close to 6 programming languages now. But the first one I learned was because I learned JavaScript, and it was a more little bit heavy and complex because it's a dynamic language. It was easy for me to learn Python in 1 week. Once I pick up a language, I just learn it. I read codes, and that's what you just need to do. It's just to learn one. And if you learn it well, build your confidence and see that you can just be migrating to anything. Any code base you inherit, you'll be able to. It's just like learning how to drive car. Even if you learn automatic, you somebody who learn manual easily migrates to automatic. Easily, even if they give you trailer, you just need to learn the basics of the trailer. You drive the trailer compared to somebody who is driving car on let's say on video game, or who is just hearing, who just read about how to drive car. You put the gear, it's different from somebody who is actually practically driving the car. So it's two different things. You who have the theory and somebody who have the practical knowledge is two different things.
Thank you.
All right, yeah. All right, any other question? Please, let's keep the questions coming. If none, okay. Any other question? All right, yeah. In the absence of any, please, let's feel free, keep paying attention to our discovery series channel. And in our next series, we'll prepare for the next series, whereby we will use a little bit of Python and data analytics, all these things, to learn how organization use data to make decisions. You see, like somebody now will not know. You see some people, they are able to know, oh, at so time, these people lost this thing, because they keep record of every data. Take, for example, football now. They have data of every event that happened, when the pass was done, all of this. So it becomes easy for them to predict and say, this will happen. This has happened 20 years ago. This data, they keep record of this data. And in our next session, we'll see how big business make decision, and they get it almost accurate. And you in Nigeria, or maybe in a company that they don't know the number of deaths, like number of patients who have died from specific sickness. You can see something will keep repeating itself, and we cannot prevent these things. Is because data, we don't know how to use data to make this decision. And we'll begin to see how it's very critical that we begin to think and begin to provide solutions as tech giant. But you and I have to pick up these skills, have to learn this. We have to ignite this curiosity. If you can go to school and do 5 years, then you can take that next 1 year and invest to learn some of these tech skills and be able to provide solutions. So thank you once again, and do have a wonderful evening all.